everyone, welcome to Chakra Alchemy, and I've got a soul friend here with me today, Simon Paul Sutton. I'm a huge fan of this guy's work. It's about transparency. It's about releasing all the energies and blocks that we have to actually showing up and living our truth and being our truth and walking our truth. And to me, this man is a guy that actually spends his life getting in alignment and getting in balance with his own truth, and then bringing what comes out of that out to other people so they also can actually get to that level of truth within themselves. And today we're actually going to be honing in on the throat chakra, because obviously the throat chakra is our expression of truth. It's where we speak our truth, it's where we be our truth. And we're going to take that and reference it through all the other energy centers, and sort of combine truth with all aspects of our energy, basically. So Simon, welcome. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, welcome, Tash, and thank you for the invitation. And thank you for those lovely words. And also, just I know you know this, but just to reiterate back that the conversations we've had and the sharing, and also your contribution to me through your gift, which has also been part of me enabling myself to connect more into my groundedness and speak my truth. You know, the session that you kindly gifted me was a real perfect moment of really allowing more of that light of divinity in. So I just want to say thank you again, live on air, for the people that listen to you and your community of the gifts that you're bringing to the world.
Oh, thank you. Such a pleasure. So basically, we're going to start off with the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is our expression of truth. It's where we voice our truth. It's where we actually stand and speak who we are into the world, basically. So when you think of the throat chakra and you think of your transparency work, because a lot of the transparency work that you've been doing has been very vocal, and one of the things that I admire about you is you don't sugarcoat anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like here it is, this is what happened, and I love that. I really love that, because we all have to get to that place where we can actually speak with that level of clarity. So when you think of the throat and you think of the work that you're doing with vulnerability and with transparency, what comes up there?
So the thing that's arising is actually what you said, is like really cutting through the layers of, I use the word BS in this moment, but the layers of BS and the lies that we plaster on ourselves without realizing. So with me is, when you say like I don't sugarcoat anything, sometimes I don't do that as sort of like a show, It's like, oh yeah, I'm just being coarse and raw. I'm doing it because at that raw truth, when we enable ourselves to just really say what we're thinking and feeling, and also express the past experiences that we had, then it enables us to actually dissolve any attachment or pain or negative thought that are attached to that identity, because ultimately we're so trapped in our identities of who we think we should be, or who we've been in the past, or who we think that other people may or may not want to perceive us in the way that they want to perceive us. So we're constantly, or in my experience, worrying too much around what other people think, what the world wants, what people want, how society wants us to be, and so on. And how I've really embodied transparent communication is just say it how it is. And I just want to say that there's a little caveat with that. I don't just mean blurt out what you're thinking and feeling about somebody and wound them, or be violent towards them, or say what you feel from a place of aggression, anger, and belittlement, or anything like that. There's a real,
can be a fine line, right?
Yeah, there's a fine line, and there's a real mindfulness to the embodiment. So I would just say, to see what comes up for you from this, but I would say that when I truly fell in love with myself, I was able to communicate my truth transparently. Yeah. When I started to communicate my truth transparently, it simultaneously is a self-loving act. So what I noticed way back in, I say way back, but not so long ago, 2008, 2009, 2010, when I was really, exploring what's going to be required of me to start living transparently, I realized that every time I spoke my truth, it was like love was filling the room, filling the experience with the other person. Yeah. And when I speak from that place of love, it's inclusive, it's safe, it's vulnerable, it serves both parties. So does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, the heart brings such a level into it, doesn't it? It brings a high frequency, a high vibration, and it actually brings that sense of oneness into it. So the communication is about circle, and it's about creating oneness rather than me sort of telling you kind of thing, and that level of individuality.
And the fact that you just brought up circle, just that is beautiful. I love how you just pick up on this stuff straight away. Circle has become the work that I do. So when you open a circle, like you and I are in a circle right now, you just brought us in with a beautiful grounding meditation that opened our sacred space, our circle. And when all the chakras are aligned and the body is feeling holistic, and you're feeling more attuned, then your body is in this essence of circle. And the beautiful thing about a circle is that there's no hierarchy. You feel supported. It's infinitely going on. It's so for me, circle is everything. And I would say that transparent communication is the communication. I call it the language of love, but is a result of that connection to. So for example, when I'm out of alignment in any of my chakras, my level of transparent communication, the potency of it is slightly out of alignment. But when they're all firing, then my transparent communication is more, even more. What would you say? Like a deeper frequency,
or focused, but with a softness, right?
Right.
It's the difference between like that sort of like straight line focus and a circular focus, which actually allows for communication. It opens the doors for communication.
Yeah, tingles, as you said, that it's a more open, inclusive space, and you communicate. Because, for example, sometimes my communication has been received really abruptly and rudely, and people have thought that I'm quite arrogant and egotistical, and and almost, like I said earlier, putting on a show. Right? And when that's being received like that, that's also, of course, that's their experience and maybe how they're projecting onto me. But also I can look at that when I get that reflection and go, wow, yeah, you know why? Because actually that had a little bit of charge in it, or there was something under there that wasn't fully aligned to what we're speaking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of transparency, because like literally we're always challenging our own selves and challenging our own boundaries. Because there's no such thing as perfection, and we all have a boundary. Do you know what I mean? We all have that part that we meet in ourselves that actually that needs that level of love to expand it outwards, definitely.
Yeah, and just throw in there before you say the question, what you said there as well is really important, because everyone's at their own stage and own space of evolution. So their level of transparency is of course very different to how they feel safe to communicate. Yeah. And what I always say to people ask me all the time, Sai, how do I communicate transparently? And I say, well, what is it you want to say? And they say, well, I want to say this, and this, and I don't know how to say it. I said, well, that was transparent communication. Right?
Yeah.
And they go, what do you mean? It was that easy? Yeah. Oh, I'm really scared and vulnerable. I don't know how to speak transparently. That's transparent communication.
Yeah, when you can actually blurt out your truth. And sometimes it takes a safe space in order to do that. Like, I know for myself, getting vulnerable in a crowd is not the easiest for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I almost have to, it's a bit like a tortoise, sort of like getting the head out the shell. I've got to coax myself into that one. But in a safe space, it's really easy to do that. When you know that you're supported and that, there's a security and a level of safety in saying and speaking your truth, you're not going to be judged for it, then absolutely it's, getting it out. And so I find finding the spaces that you can do that really easily, then it aids you to do it in life generally.
Again, the power in what you just shared, the power is that imagine if you was in a busy environment or you know, a more of a not feeling safe space, and you turned around and said, I don't feel safe to express my vulnerability right now. You know, this space isn't where I can actually express authentically. Boom, done. Yeah, so I mean, transparency there, and you don't have to do anything you don't want. Because sometimes people say, "Well, I don't want to do that. That's too much for me." It's like you don't have to do that.
Yes, yeah, and it's getting in tune with your own resonance in the moment.
Yeah.
So let's bring it down to the base, because the base is filled up with all sorts of stuff, right? But if we were to, because the base, we've got our money in the base chakra, we've got the ability to take care of ourselves in the base chakra, that level of being able to support ourselves. There's community in the base chakra. So it's literally that level of actually embodying ourselves, being in our body, being here on planet Earth, really sinking into that, and the materialism of that as well. And a lot of times people actually, and especially I you know, in this kind of like spiritual, heart-centered, soul-centered business realm, people have, you know, sometimes quite a hard time with the grounding element and quite a hard time sinking into the material aspect of living on planet Earth. But yeah, it's kind of like you have to, because this is where we're living, right? We're living on planet Earth. So when you actually take transparency and you actually shine a light into, you know, the base chakra, what comes up for you there?
So what's alive in me at the moment, as I'm just pondering that, and I'm just bringing that, I actually was just feeling into my base, into my sacrum as well, and the thing that comes up is with transparency. A lot of how we've been doing our business and exchanging our gifts and experiencing the monetary system and sharing our gifts to the world from a place of, you know, wanting some sort of return. Yeah, you know this because you and I did a little bit of this on our session. Is the current models in place do not support the level of transparency and the level of communication that you and I are talking about, and the work that you do and the work that I'm bringing to the world. So what I'm really interested in with transparency is I don't care about the buzzword that every company is using right now, because they've realized that it's become a marketing buzzword. And if we say we're transparent, the people out there that buy our products are going to trust us more. That ain't transparency. That's using the powerful word, because words have power, words have meaning, they carry a frequency, they carry an energy, a sound vibration. A lot of marketing, inauthentic, still resonant beings are using those words and those frequencies very, very acutely, still manipulating, still overcoming people's ability, and still playing on people's fear. And when I say overcoming people's ability to make a conscious decision, still playing on people's fear, and still using subtle linguistic manipulations in order to get people to buy their product, right? Because we're in a world of competitiveness. Yeah. So when you ask me about what my base is saying, my base is saying, when you fully align to your transparency, and we talk about get into that sacred space and that connection of all the chakras, then we're going to start creating systems which are merging now, where we start to sell and share our gifts from a very authentic, inclusive place, and where we start to also come together and share our gifts without the need of just money being one form of exchange, okay? Which again is just paper and it's just numbers on a screen at the moment, which totally we welcome that in. But the way that we start to welcome that bridge in comes from a very different place when you're talking transparency. And I'll give you a very quick example. I tell people exactly how it is. You want to know about my finances. Most people are scared to talk about their finances. I charge cost share for my events and retreats, and from that cost share, we share the cost divided equally, and then we use the gift economy mentality where me and Dara, the woman that I do the retreats with at the moment, share our gifts. Once we've taken our costs and expenses, we share our gifts, our facilitation, the whole experience. And at the end, we let the people value what they want to give. They give from a heart-to-heart funding place. Now, the reason we do this is because we don't want to tell somebody else that there's a paywall. Now, of course, there's a cost share, because that's just cost. We have to pay that in today's day and age. Planet Earth, I have to hire a farmhouse. I don't have a farmhouse for myself at this stage, so I have to hire a farmhouse. There's things that have to be paid. And then after that, we say to somebody, well, look, you step into you understanding the value of what you've experienced and let your heart communicate what you truly can give from a place of what you authentically want to share, as opposed to putting yourself under pressure, getting all caught up in paywalls, because most of our society is dealing with paywalls. Like there's blocks to our ability to get people to connect. So what this does is this limits people, and then people feel even more limited because they think the only way for them to experience something or build community or find their purpose or connect to their gifts that they want to bring to the world is if they raise money, but they can't raise money from an authentic place because they're not aligned to their gifts and their purpose and so on, right? So you're caught in this sort of catch-22. And then on top of that, what I also do is I charge, I exchange money and numbers with people for mentoring and coaching and stuff. I also invite the gift. And the gift, what it does, Tash, it kills people. People are they know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. People don't know how to value a session, a one-to-one session or a retreat. They don't know how to value themselves or the experiences that they're having, right? And, so I know we could talk longer about that. So what I want to say, so for example, with me, right now, if I was going to say, share with the people watching, and money comes and goes, and when you're playing from the gift, you're not attached to this old mentality of like, oh, I need 100 grand in the bank because I need my safety and I need to know that this and this is coming in and so on. You start to show up and trust that what you're putting out is going to support you. So, for example, last week, based on the gift model, randomly, somebody came as a gift and gave us 2,900 euros after they experienced the retreat and left there and didn't say what they were going to pay or give or anything, right? And it's been nearly however many months, 6 months or since their experience, and it's taken them that time to realize, wow, this is what I want to give, and I want you guys to continue doing your work. But we weren't going, oh God, he still hasn't paid anything, you know what I mean? Well, when's any money coming from him? We'd already received gifts from everybody else, and it had its own level and layer. And then randomly, unexpected, we get that payout, and we're like, oh my God, the gift in action, right? So I hope that's not too. Can you see there's different models from a place of love and truth?
Absolutely, and that has to be said. Actually, there's so many different models of seeing it, and I don't think any one way is better or worse. But I think when it comes to money, if you talk to 20 people, you get 20 different models. Right?
Always.
And it's just what the transparency element is, what sits right with you, what resonates with you, what thumps your heart, and that for me, when you're able to actually speak it, because it can be so much shame in the base chakra, like when people can't look after themselves, for example, when there's dependency or a sense of inadequacy, there can be a lot of shame around that money thing, and people experience quite deep heartburn at the dinner table to blurt anything out about money. So to actually really be able to speak in that way that you've just spoken.
Yeah, and just to give you more, like for example, I know in my bank account right now, in my Barclays bank account right now, I have, when I last checked, £500. Yeah, and I know I've got some money coming in now, and I know in my PayPal account I have about £800. Which has come from different courses that I've done and so on, right? And then I have some cash. I have €1,000 on me right now, and and I have some cash floating around, and I know that there's money coming in and going out on a natural flow, which sustains me, right? And I'm not interested in pension plans, savings, and all this other stuff. I'm not interested in a mortgage to somehow give me security when I'm older, or health plans to sort me out when I'm dying. I'm going to deal with that as I flow, right? And know that I am sustained. And do you know what happens? Like, for example, I just want to share this with your audience. Like this January gone, based on the gift, a woman called us up and said, I want to fly you to the Dominican Republic, pay your flights as a sponsorship, so you come and volunteer in my school. I didn't know she had a school. In my school with 1,500 children, and there's deprived children that she has this school, and a lot of the mums are abused and so on. She says, I want you to bring your love and your work to these children from the age of 12 to 16. We did 9 days with the school. We did 4 days with the tutors, and we did 5 days with the children, and we told them about transparent communication, anger release, emotional release, right? We got looked after in our house. We got a car given to us for the time. We were fed abundantly, and we had a phenomenal time. We were taken to the north of the island and shown around the Dominican Republic. We got taken out on a speedboat. And like, this is like a dream that some people are striving their whole life until they're 50 to try and experience, right? And save up and work in a job they hate. And it was given to us as a gift, as an exchange model, right? And we're traveling around the world doing that. Now, this is happening constantly, Tash.
Yes, yeah. And this is the beauty of it, isn't it? When you actually fall in line with your own resonance, when you fall in line with that thing that actually feels good to you on that level of sustenance, then it supports you. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. And there, like I say, there's so many different ways of doing it, but your ways, like honoring your ways, is the biggest thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Just in there, one of the things you said, shame and guilt, and I just want to say, in terms of the base chakra, sometimes Carolyn Miss is a beautiful woman, and she talks a lot about chakras as computer systems within our body. And she says on the base chakra, which is the red chakra, right? So she says, sacred truth, all is one. She says, you are connected to all of life. Every choice you make and every belief you hold exerts influence upon the whole of life. Yeah? So what she says in there, that this is the first chakra, is emotional and mental health. So your connection to traditional familial beliefs supports the formation of identity and sense of belonging to a group, right? Yeah. So when our base is out of alignment, we're often not able to deeply connect. Yes. And when it comes to like money as an energy, right, and an exchange, I've been broke, I've been poor. I grew up in a council estate, and my mum has never had much money. It's like we were 3 children, single parent. I was a criminal, a burglar. I used to steal. I went to jail when I was 18 for theft. I mean, I get the depths of poverty and fear around survival and not having your basic needs met. So I'm not in the woohoo spiritual, what's it called, law of attraction. I'm just going to sit at home and do nothing and just expect people to send me money. Yeah. It's not what I'm pointing to. I'm saying that there's so much shame and guilt around money in the old paradigm of how we look at it, that when we start to reveal ourselves and get beyond that, then we can start to really receive in an authentic way. And I mean receive abundance. If somebody wants to give me $1 million, $2 million, $1 trillion, I'm going to put it all into more transparency and love and spaces for authenticity. And I'm going to build me and you a bloody chakra house. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes right back down to the resonance. So when we move it up to the sacral chakra, and the sacral chakra is our level of intimacy, it's our level of creating relationship with anything outside of ourselves, and that could be animate or inanimate. It could be our work, it could be the things that we make with our hands, it could be our partner, it could be our relationships, whatever. When you think of bringing transparency into the sacral, because obviously the sacral, as well as it's like the whole sex and money thing, right? Sex is another one that is actually can be dirty in some people's minds, but ultimately is part of our human existence. It's part, of the human life, the human walk. Your sexuality plays a huge part in that. So when you bring transparency in the midst of that, what comes up there?
Oh, this is a massive, beautiful place for me. Okay, so transparency for me brings up this instantly. And it brings up feel the need to share with your community and audience that I have slept with over 100 women. And I have paid sex, which some would call prostitution, which I don't like that word because I believe these are women that are just trying to survive in a male-dominated world. I have slept with over 50 women from a place of paying for them. I grew up where men are derogatory to women and women are a piece of meat that I should try to somehow get sex from, and I need to be a stud. And the more women that I've slept with, the more better I am as a lover. Okay? Then when transparency comes in, when you realize that you're prematurely ejaculating, you're scared about the size of your lingam, I call it now, but your penis for people out there that don't like the word lingam. When you're talking about the male camaraderie, where you're actually really scared to make love to a woman and you don't really know how to communicate to them, and you're nervous and you don't know how to caress a body properly, you don't know how to honor a woman, you don't understand that the yoni, her vagina, is a gateway into a whole being and a universe. You don't understand a woman emotionally intelligent. You've just been sticking your stalk, your stick into this thing, thinking you know what to do if you just bang it a bit harder, right? That's the level, the rawness that I grew up in, where men look at a woman and go, check out the tits on her, look at her ass, I bet she'd be good in bed, and they have no understanding that they can't look at themselves and they're not good in bed, and look at them, in their in their ignorance and their unconsciousness. So then when you come and bring transparency to life now, to relationships now, oh my Lord, I am nearly 40 years old and I am just learning right now how to truly respect and honor a woman, and how to touch a woman's body, and to understand where she is in her moon cycle, and to understand what she's going through, and to ask her regularly to check in, to understand where she's at, what she's feeling, what needs she has, what wants she has, and how to bring that intimacy to a woman, to look in her eyes and eye gaze, and not be concerned about the outcome or ejaculation of any kind, but to be concerned about, are we connecting authentically? Does this feel real? And then to look at my own blocks and my own subtle conditioning around how I've been conditioned sexually, and how that tries to creep in every now and again and get life. So that's what comes up for me in this moment.
Wow, man, you just spoke a lot there. And if I was asking for transparency, you could get more transparent than that. That was just I've never heard a man actually say that. That is beautiful. So, there's nothing else I can actually say with that one. I mean, but that's the sexual element, definitely.
But that feeds into, but the reason why I said that was live in me, that feeds into all relationships, because Tash, you know this, is that you can just, the sexual energy, I sometimes say, Tash, I'd love to hear what you say on this, but is everything, right? But what's happened is, in our world, of course, sex has become marketable. Sex still is everything. You think about it. You and I grew in our mother's womb and then came out through our sex, right? We were born through our sex. Creation is sexual. It's orgasmic. Everything is an explosion of energy and creation and beauty. So our relationships, when we are embodying our sexual energy and we are aligning all of our energy centers, our energy computers, and we're really honoring energy, then of course that feeds out into our relationship. I mean, I have intimate relationships with everyone I meet. Mine and yours relationship, on the way that me and you communicate, is intimacy. It's I feel that you and I exchange love through our words and through our respect for each other, and the way that we honor each other in that short time of knowing each other. I've probably connected deeper to you and made more love with you and to you in the way that we've communicated, because we've cut straight through all the superficiality and the noise, right? So it doesn't mean that I think, I wanted to sleep, I need to be in the same bed as Tash and I need to touch it. No, it's I'm making love in that essence of that sacredness, right? It's all then in that I call it a balloon of love sometimes, but you know what I mean. It's
and that's the thing, that's where I was going with that, because basically when you actually take that level of mindfulness, and it's not even mindfulness actually, that level of beingness, right? That circular level of beingness where the heart is in the midst of whatever you're merging your energy to, and you bring it to anything, the end result is always beauty. And that's basically, when you talk about the sacral chakra, when I talk about the sacral chakra, I see two energies merging, and then I see beauty in the midst of it. It's like divine beauty in the midst of it. And it could be anything, like you say, it could be the intimacy of a sexual relationship, but it could be the intimacy of making food. Or it could be the intimacy, you understand what I'm trying to say? The intimacy of how you do your work. the intimacy of how you prepare a space, you know, all of that, basically.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because for some people listening, they might think that's the mundane, and no, it's not. It's like literally the presence and awareness that comes from mindfulness. And don't get me wrong, like if you come and hang out with me, some days you will look at me eating and you'll go, "Hey, Si, was that mindful eating? Because I'm sorry, but everybody else is still eating quite mindfully, and your plate is unclean, right?" You know, and you know, if you hung out with me, you might see sometimes that, you know, I might rush a few things, and you know, and I know, Tash, you always look at me, and I know you will say, "Let's ground in," because you know I'm ecstatic and I'm excited, and you're like, "Okay, let's just bring this in." So, you know, somebody looking from the outside might go, "Wow, he seems quite erratic. He's not very grounded." Yeah. But then you would know, if you hung out with me, that I get up every day and I sit in silence, and I do my meditation, and I do my yoga, and I do the practices that really connect me to nature. Like this morning, I sat in nature for an hour and 15 minutes, just over here on the side there. You can even see, for your viewers, if they can see over there. So just by the trees.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. And I'm by the ocean at the moment, as you know. And there's some people coming in, and you will know that I sat there this morning with my partner, and we did an hour and 15-minute meditation of I was watching these blue dragonflies, and I was just breathing into the wind moving through the trees. And so you know that there's that, you know, it's like, it's all about embodiment, Tash, isn't it? It's about, you know, when I make my food or my green smoothie, or you know, I'm like this morning, just before we began, I got lavender oil here. Now, I thought, right, I'm going to be with Tash, I know I want to be centered and so on. Let me just breathe in some lavender oil before I speak with her, and let me just ground in. Now, listen, if you'd have known me when I was 18, 19, 20, and I told the people I used to hang out with that I breathe a little bit of lavender oil in, they'd go, "Man, this guy's stupid. What is he on? He's become all loved up, hippie-fied or whatever," right? So, you know, it really is about mindful embodiment and understanding what these energies really represent and what they bring to your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. So moving the energy up to the solar plexus, because the solar plexus is our identity, is our personal power, it's the way that we actually relate in the world, who we think we are. And whenever we say "I am," anything that we say past that in the physical body, in our physical being, we're talking from the sacral chakra. And to a large extent, with the sacral chakra, it could get so messed up in the sense of, as children, depending on how you grew up, as children, we could either be told to, you know, calm down, shut up, you know, just dampen down the energy, there's too much going on. Or it could be like you were quite quiet and you get, speak up, you know, be more, you know, act more, you know, more. So like this sort of solar plexus area can get so confused, like people don't know who they are, etc., etc. Right. And the transparency for me in the solar plexus is really that level where we were talking before about meeting your boundary and honestly saying, "I've got a boundary here." Yes. When you think about the solar plexus with transparency, what comes up for you?
Well, again, I'm going to quote maybe Caroline Mist on this, because it's a woman I love, but sacred truth. I like that she describes this, and just so you know, for everyone watching, yellow is one of my favourite colours of all. I mean, I love all colours, but and what arises for me as you were speaking is my transparency is, Tash, I don't know if I know fully who I am. Yes. Yeah. I don't want to tell you that I've cracked it and I've got it. Being transparency feels to be the action of me being able to show up who I feel I am as truthful in that moment. Like you know, you speak to me and bring new insight and wisdom to me, and I go, "Wow, okay, yeah, there you go." That is or you know, I'm realizing at the moment with my meditation, as it's getting deeper and deeper, and I'm scratching the surface of the mountain, that, you know, I'm uncovering years of conditioning, and I'm uncovering habits that even as I continue to do the work over the last 10 years, little layers of limitation and lack and beliefs that are in there that are not who I am. Yeah. And you know, and then if we go really deeper into like quanta and the holographic universe and multi dimensions and where we're evolving to, or even as our awareness expands further, I'm dissolving constantly who I am. Like, I don't see myself as Simon as a human being for starters. I don't just we have to use that for this conversation and stuff. Like, you call me Simon, you got to call me out. But I'm not Simon. I'm not a human being. Like, I don't believe in this moment as my transparency that I can define what I am, because the minute that I put a word onto what I am, I dissolve the potential of what's there. You see? So I'm, if anything, I'm nothing. I can't be named as a full essence of who I am. But then when we're coming to play in this arena, I can bring in and play around with certain, titles and so on. Does that make sense?
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Because the thing is, exactly what you're saying there, the I am is always expanding. The I am is always changing. And you're either doing consciously, where actually you're bringing that level of mindfulness. And I know you're really... a lot of your work is about creating the life that you want. Well, that's where it comes from. It comes from that area, that solar plexus area of creating who you are in the moment. So absolutely, there is no solid definition of that. But it feels like when it comes to the resonance, it's always about actually meeting your boundary, challenging your boundary, and then shifting the boundary when it comes to the solar plexus.
Yeah, and I love what you said there. Is that, do you know what's so beautiful when there's an openness in that? There's such an openness in that, right? It's like when you're not attached or defined by that boundary, but you know that there is a boundary at the moment, and you're willing to look over it. And so for example, I can meet you without the need to think that I've got to project my beliefs and stuff onto you, but I can go, hey Tash, we've come together. What wants to birth? What truth wants to arise uninvited through our coming together? Like, I don't want. Even if I'm upholding something, and you said to me, "Well, that seems a bit thick, Simon. You seem a little bit like what transparency is the only way." Then I can go, let me breathe into that and go, yeah, let me let that go. If that's what the energy that seems to be coming towards you, and let's just let that go, And then all of a sudden, something moves through called, wobbity wobbity woo, and then that's the, what I mean, right?
It's a dance of life, isn't it? It's bringing your individuality to the dance of life and allowing life to flow through you without definition. In essence, that's what it is, isn't it? So when we bring it up to the third eye, and transparency in the third eye is really that sense of actually allowing your own visions to come through, allowing your intuition to come, not being scared of your intuition. Because I've actually spoken to a lot of people that actually find their own intuition quite scary. Do you know, oh no, I don't want to see that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that level of truth is sometimes a little bit too much truth for them. Right. But when you actually bring transparency into your intuition, what comes up there for you?
Well, I tell you, I love this. I love how you're doing these conversations, by the way. I love how you're using the chakras, and your questioning is always so beautiful. And really, 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 and people watching might think, oh, we just compliment each other. No, I'm being, I speak to a lot of people, hundreds of people. I record conversations. I really love your navigation on conversations. And so transparency gives me the opportunity to see. And it gives me the opportunity to see with my inner eye, which is the third eye. Yeah. And what also comes up with the third eye for me is that when I close my eyes, as much as I love my sight and I love the fact that I can see what all of this what's happening before me, when I close my eyes, it feels, the more I close my eyes, I get to truly see. Yeah. I get to truly see internally what's happening, and then I get to see beyond the limitations of the confined beliefs and and the physical the physical walls that we're actually in as well. Yeah. So what happens when I close my eyes and I start to see with my inner eye, I become more expansive. Yeah. So transparency, people wouldn't believe that I can sit for hours on end in silence because I love to talk, right? It's like, I love talking. Throat chakra is open, right? But I love that silence and that looking in, because then it actually enables my transparency to be of a much, even more clearer.
Yes, yeah. It's an inner voice, isn't it? Because we
Yes.
do have two voices.
Yes.
We've got the outward sort of expressive voice, but as soon as you close your eyes and you close your vocal cord, like your senses that way, and you just turn the lens inwards and you ask a question, the quality of the voice comes out is completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a wonderful guy, Stuart Pearce. Some of you might know anyway.
God, yeah, I love Stuart Pearce.
You love Stuart Pearce, right? So listen, just quickly, we've got to bring Stuart into this for this. So it's perfect for the throat and third eye. He wrote a book before he started doing his angels reading and so on. He was working for the big Shakespeare theatre in London, and he was going around the world helping people called his first book Alchemy of Voice.
Yes.
So he was helping them connect to their signature notes.
Yeah.
And I read that book when I was an actor, because I was an actor for a number of years, and I read his book, which connected to me instantly, because like when you're embodying, you're bringing your breath and your voice from your embodiment from down in the sacral chakra, right, and the solar plexus, and you're communicating from your authenticity. Your voice, like you just said, just reiterating what you said, but it changes resonance. It has more gravitas and more groundedness and more penetration. And if Stuart was talking now, he'd go, yes, darling. You would be penetrating the atmosphere of the dimension, darling. Yes. And he'd be like, and when he meets you, he'd meet you and instantly look at you, and he could just feel your energy and go, I feel you, darling. And I'm telling you, right, if you don't know this guy, meet him. It's just like the words he uses and the way he uses words with energy. This is what it's about. And one thing I throw in there as well, Tash, I work with people, as you know, and I get them to tap into their intuition. And what's so beautiful is that we're so intelligent when we use that inner voice. And okay, it might be scary, but if we can support people to really trust their voice, their inner voice, their intuition, like we're going to cut out so much of the futile conversations and the futile actions, right? and even all these futile like workshops and training and stuff. It's like, wow, just tap into your inner knowledge.
Yes, yeah. And I feel that that's the journey that we're all coming back to a large extent. If you are far out there and the actual idea of sitting in silence for an hour scares the bejesus out of you, it's like coming to something that allows the space for you to do that, to really get introduced to that voice is really stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it becomes more and more friendly, and not without some challenge. I haven't liked always what my voice says, and my mum said recently, she's like, Simon, she goes, the more I listen in, I really don't like the voice that I've allowed to become the dominating voice. Of like putting myself down, judging myself, socially and personally oppressing myself, calling myself names, saying that I'm unworthy and I'm overweight and I'm useless and I'm a nobody. Nobody wants to face that. That's been the internal dialogue that you've been allowing. But when you bring awareness to it and go, okay, that must have served me. I must have thought that I needed that for my survival for a short time. But I can now, with awareness, I can change the thought. I can change the pattern.
Yeah. And each of those that you just mentioned there is a boundary. It's a wall that we've created. And when you come across that boundary, you can actually try as fast as possible to get out of it, which then means that you're scrambling around and the thing that you're getting out of it with doesn't satisfy you. Or you could actually sit with it, the uncomfortability of it. And that's a lot where our work comes in, I think, basically, is to create the space to allow people to do that, to sit with it in a safe space and to vocalize it and to get into it so you can actually expand it and move outwards with it, And for me,
but we should hold that, and we could do a whole talk on that, because talking on safe space is so important, Tash. And what you said there, because you know what, it's not all roses. It's going to bring up some real dark emotion. It's going to bring up some tears and some anger that's not not controlled anger. It's going to bring up some real muck, and that's okay. You know, when you're supported, that's okay. We can just look at that and we can work through that together.
And for me, one of the things that I say, because I just know how useful it's been for me, I feel like every adult human being deserves to give themselves the time to create a space, either with another person or by themselves. And sometimes with another person. I know I've had to work with people, because when we get a blind spot like this, it's kind of like you don't know past what you don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you're like that, you need a little bit of like a mirror to go, okay, all right, you know? But yeah, basically I feel like every adult human being deserves to, for the rest of us as well, for the life of our human existence, deserves to give themselves that time to actually open up the blinkers and to see what serves them and what doesn't serve.
Yeah, cool.
But when we bring up to the crown chakra, and we bring transparency to the crown, because the crown obviously is our sense of unity, is our sense of connection to on a universal basis, but it's also our sense of connection to our spirituality, our higher self, our souls, and that voice of our deepest wisdom lies in the crown chakra, basically. And I feel like the crown chakra is our line to our universe. It's aligned to our truth, basically. The crown chakra holds our truth for us, and it holds it very, very clearly and very stilly. And like, basically, if we open ourselves up, it's just pure truth that comes through. So when you actually get a sense of the crown, and you get a sense of that from a transparency point of view, what comes up there?
As you were speaking and we were doing this, and I was just realizing, like, you know, wow, like what, like this is like this. How intelligent are we? I was just thinking, like, even as we're going through this, and we're contemplating the human body in this way, and we're looking at these energy meridians, and we've been given, you know, this information's been shared to us, and we're moving it and growing it, and people are sharing it. I was just thinking how so phenomenally intelligent we are. And when it comes to, you said the crown and soul and, you know, infinite innate wisdom and connecting to, maybe I sort of see us sometimes as transmitters and receivers. So I feel that the crown is where we've sort of got this big antenna of, you know, electromagnetic antenna that goes out and sort of picks up all this data and wisdom and brings it into this brain, you know, this sort of big, huge, intelligent, you know, more powerful than any computer, hard drive, whatever, mainframe, goes on. And then within that, simultaneously, when we talk about souls, multi-dimensions and all this, you know, it makes me also just honor what I don't know. You know, that's what comes up, like almost like there's a sense of not unworthiness, but like, it's like we're at a stage in evolution or whatever, even if we move beyond time, where this information is becoming a conversation, a more common conversation, accessible to everybody. Yeah. And that for me feels really expansive, and I'm really curious as to what the world will look like as we really start to educate ourselves with this innate knowledge and wisdom, as opposed to maybe a slightly more dense awareness that we've had to move through as our collective species. Yes. So that's sort of just what's coming up for me in this moment.
How can we actually bring that frequency in and kind of earth it, ground it, and then radiate it outwards, you know?
Yeah, and as you're speaking, just as you said that last bit, it's really interesting, because from a transparency perspective, then I would say that aspect of the chakra, I'm wanting to align more to. I'm wanting to know how transparency is from that perspective of what we just said with the soul, and you know that's what it feels like. It almost feels like I'm maybe personally moving more into that space.
Well, from a 5D perspective, it is transparency, because from a 5D perspective, where you're coming through from the point of view of actually bringing that level of divinity into the body and harnessing it, it's like there's nothing to hide. You know,
Right.
so you are shifting the humanity out of the way, or not the humanity, because as long as we're on a planet and we've got a human body, there's a humanity. But you're
Right.
shifting the boundaries out of the way, all those stops
Yes.
and blocks that you've got, in order to hold and to actually radiate that
Uh,
level of frequency coming through. So that's transparency in motion, basically.
Yeah, I love that. And well, I might call a book that, Transparency in Motion. Me and you should co-write it. Listen to this. I love what you just said. I love how again, stops and blocks and boundaries. I know boundaries is something, the word that you really like to use, and I like that you said stops and blocks, because whenever I sort of had this vision of transparency for me, I'm always seeing, like this vision in my mind of just completely translucent, right?
Yeah.
So if we talk about the spirit and the soul and this sort of, you said like the transparency is the thread through that, like the body's with us, but it's also not, it sort of dissolves in its sort of confinement of what the body is, but you're still in the body, but you're becoming more translucent. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
more see-through, right? But in a very powerful way, in a very like, wow, yeah, I can move and mold with whatever the energy is like inviting right now.
Absolutely, because then you actually bring the mindfulness to the fact that your actual physical matter body is not what you perceive it when you look at matter at all. It is actually energy, right? So you're actually bringing that into the consciousness and you're living it out, you know?
Tingles. And you know what? As I get tingles, just as you were speaking and I did that dance move, I was like, yeah, we're moving into this ability to just merge with, with other energies and just, here we are. I love that so much.
Simon, I have to say thank you so much. I could talk to you forever, In the context of this conversation, this has been absolutely amazing. Before you go, just let us know where we can find you, what you're up to at the moment.
At the moment, if people that like what I'm sharing and love us, then really two beautiful retreats that I've put together, co-created. One is called nakedtheretreat.com, and another one is called Trinity, and the URL for that is laughtertearssilence.com. And basically, these are immersions where we can, we come together in a unity, in a community, and we strip ourselves down of all the blocks and the boundaries and the stops that are stopping us from being transparent. So, yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, darling. I really appreciate this time.
Yeah, me too. Lots of love. Thank you.